Welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here we talk about the connection between creativity and healing, and how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally. Join us now. Hi everyone, Larissa Russell of Creative You Healing, and today I have with me Christina Keim. Christina is a German mixed media artist, art journaler, and creative guide based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She's very passionate about creating without pressure, finding spaces for contemplation, experimentation, healing, and self-discovery through art. She wants more people to discover how to create with joy, intention, and step-by-step, a better, more colorful life. So welcome, Christina.
Hi.
I'm so happy to have you. And, we were just talking about earlier about being nervous, and I'm the first one who will mess everything up when I'm reading a bio. So I think I usually put people at ease with that. I hope I did put you at ease.
Yes. It gives permission to make mistakes also.
Exactly. I am absolutely about permission to make mistakes. That's how we learn.
Great.
So,
yes, I'm all into that.
So can you share some of your story and the path that's brought you to where you are now?
Yes, of course. So first, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and to share a bit about, how I arrived and how I started doing what I do now. So I would say I have been a creative person all of my life. I remember in my childhood, there were always art supplies, stuff to do, stuff to draw, to paint, to make, together with my sisters and my mother. And I liked art in school. And then I did always something or other creative during my life, but there was a long gap of not painting and not drawing for around 20 years. So from when I finished school to 2015, basically. And that year, 2014, 2015 was like a really difficult time for me. It was a time where I felt very lonely, and I also had a super basic routine of sleeping, working, and going to work, coming back, like a commute of 3 hours per day. And then when I would come home, I would, it was basically time for dinner and to bring my daughter to bed, and that was it. And there wasn't much time for other stuff. So what I did though in this time, I was hearing audiobooks. I spent so much time on the bus, I was hearing audiobooks, and that was nice. And from one of the series, there was a book missing. And then I went to the internet and I tried to look that up, and I didn't find it right away, but I found fan fiction instead. And I started reading fan fiction a lot. And what fascinated me was that there were people out there who wrote stories that I could enjoy for free, and there were lovely stories. And there was the thought on the one side, oh, I wish I could draw that. There were some things that I read that impacted me so much, and I had images in my head, and I thought, oh, wow, I wish I could draw that. And one day I did. I grabbed a sheet of paper and a pencil, and I started drawing. And I also started to share that with the authors of the story and other people. And so it did a lot of things for me. Like I started drawing and painting also. I started sharing it, and I started to getting to know people. So that brought me out of my loneliness. I made friendships, and I also started to draw, and I started to paint, and I did a bit of digital art. And then later the fandom became less important, but the painting and drawing had become important. So I would go on with that. I did watercolors for a while. And then in 2020, I came across mixed media and art journaling and cosmic smashbooking. And that brought the whole creative thing to a whole other level, because before that, I had always wondered this mixed media thing. What is that? Why would I create something and then cover it up and then I doing something else? I couldn't grasp that until I tried it out, and I found, wow, this was so freeing. It took away so much pressure and so much, like you can just always change it. And I hadn't experienced that before. And also I learned about the cosmic smashbook approach, that is journaling and just playing with colors, asking questions and discovering things. So that brought a whole other meaning to this whole creative and art thing that I was doing. And that was also when the pandemic started. So I always say it basically kept me sane during this time of being locked inside the house 24/7 with the family, and not only having to work, but like school work and all the stuff that started to happen. And basically, I would say I got through this time pretty okay, thanks to art journaling and mixed media and all these things. So yeah, that's a bit of the story and how I discovered that. And I then came to a place again where I said, oh, I need to share that. I need more people to get to know this, because it helped and helps me so much. And I'm again on a point where I want to share and where I want to connect. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing now, like workshops and participating in courses and these kind of things.
Yeah. And you've been a part of our summits, as some of our summits as well, so which has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love your style of how you teach and what you create. And I just loved hearing your journey too, because we've talked a few times and I didn't understand or know, I guess, where it started. So I love that, because
I haven't shared a lot of that before, actually, because it's also a kind of a roundabout thing. So I started somewhere, then something else came up, and I just followed the path and discovered a whole new life, basically, a whole new way of doing things also. And it keeps changing. It supports this question also, what do I want to do with my life and where do I want to go? What can be the next step? And this creative process supports that a lot.
It really does. And seeing your winding journey, many women, especially women, but many creatives, I think, start when they're young, and then they have that whole period where they don't do anything because they're busy, doing for everybody else, or they're going to school, or they're, whatever it is. And then they pick up their creativity again later, hopefully. But also the fact that it's not a neat path. You don't just go, oh, I'm creative, I'm going to start teaching. That's not really how it works. So, it's a very,
at least not in my experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the journey that many creatives take is very winding, and will take them in different places. I mean, I think about my business even just over the last few years, and it's wound quite a bit, not to mention my whole life journey to get where I am. I knew sort of where I wanted to be, and I'm ending up there, but it was not let's do that and it's done.
It's not. It's like you have to follow the path, and like one thing leads to the other. And what surprises me always is that you never know. It was just at one moment, it was just this urge, I want to draw something. So I picked a sheet of paper and a pencil, and I started to draw. And that led me to another thing, and that led me to get to know people. And I also, I don't know if it was luck or if I just surrounded myself with the people or encountered the people that would support me. Because maybe that fandoms can be very toxic places. It can get very heavy. But I found a bunch of people that were just lovely, and no matter how crappy my drawings were in the beginning, they supported me and they were delighted. Oh, someone drew something for my story. And that was such a nice give and take, and it led to a lot of other things. So you never know.
You really never know, because one thing leads to another thing leads to another thing. And when we are so rigid in where we're going, we miss out on those opportunities, right?
Mm.
But allowing space for us to go and explore and find new paths. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you touched on this a little bit, but it's the one question I ask everyone. What does healing with creativity mean to you?
Yeah, for me, the healing is in a lot of little things. Like it's having space for myself to just be myself, to express myself. It's a way to get out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what happens often to me is like sometimes I can't sleep because I have thoughts going or worries going around in my head. So in the morning when I get up and I have the kids are out of the house, I can sit with my journal, I can write it out, just dump it all on the paper and put color on, and I get pretty quickly to into a state where I can breathe again. I can let it go. I can let it rest there. And then I can shift this negative emotion and I start to see the possibilities. I start to think about, okay, that's that. What can I do about it? Or maybe not even that. I can just let it rest there and go on with my day. And it opens but it opens to possibility. And I find that very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
On a daily basis. And it also, I can ask my journal all the questions, or I can and dump everything in there. And it changes. I'm able to change. I'm able to get out of my head. And I also find answers through this creative process.
Yeah.
And especially this cosmic smashbooking art journaling process is kind of designed to do just that, to get you out of the head, to get it all on the paper, and then you can allow the answers to come in. Like you can leaf through a magazine and you find something that is just speaking to you, to that question, or to what you were asking, or to the intention that you have. So you can put it on your page, and so they grow and they inform you and they give you answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and that's the lovely thing. Yes, cosmic smash booking, absolutely. Mixed media too, because you can, adding layers, you can hide things. And I think often we think we have to create in a very specific way realism. And, if we don't draw perfectly, then we are not creative. If we don't, if we haven't got a published novel, we're not creative. If we are not playing in a symphony, all of those things. And creativity is in everyone. And also, it's necessary for our wellness, especially as women, right? It's a feminine energy that's necessary for our wellness. And so just expressing on the page, and that's where art journals are wonderful, because you don't ever have to show them to anyone. You can, but you don't have to, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah.
Yes, that's exactly my experience, because creativity is I find it very healing, but it depends largely, I think, on the approach you have. If you go to your page and you sit there and you think, oh, every time I take out my brushes or whatever I create with, I have to create a masterpiece, that is very stressful. Mm-hmm. That is very limiting also. But if you approach it with being open and I will just do whatever I feel like doing, and it doesn't have to look like anything. I don't have to show it. And with that approach, I find it very healing, very helpful. And I show, I would say, almost all of the things that I create, but not everything. And you don't have to. So that's also, if I don't want to, I don't share it. If I want to, then I do.
Well, and I think it's important too to have a community or a space where you feel safe. If you do want to share, like even something that you yourself may not find to be, beautiful, if you will, but you want to share it because, like, I expressed myself, right? And so having that safe space to do that, I think, is really important as well.
Yeah, that's actually something I always experience, especially the pages that I think, oh, they are like they're not really saying anything, or I did not discover anything super important, but maybe I share it and I put something in the caption, and then I get the comments, wow, you expressed exactly what I'm feeling, or this happened to me and I see that on your page, or I so feel that also. Like this is something that I especially notice it when I post things where I'm myself not very convinced that it's good, or that it says something, or that it's important in any way. I often, especially with those pages or those art pieces, I experience the exact opposite, that more people come to me and say, wow, that expresses something that I feel too. And I underestimated the aspect of community in art for a long time. Like I had that in the fandom thing, but that's around a certain, the characters, the story. And in this art community where I'm stepping into, it's about what are we feeling, what are we experiencing, how do we express that, how can I create space for myself and express myself and feel better because I do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is, that community is such a huge part. I mean, we, as you know, we have a community that we've been building, and like just seeing how people feel safe to share, and then how everyone like jumps in to give positive comments and things. It's just wonderful to see that. But it helps everyone, even if you haven't shared, even if you haven't left a comment, but it helps you know you're in a safe space. It helps you know that what you're doing is okay. And it's really all about expressing. Yeah.
And getting the feeling that you're not alone, that other people go through similar things, not the same, but like you can relate to so many things on different levels, and you experience that through the community, and it gives you this, oh yes, that's actually true, I felt I was so alone in my struggle or whatever. And then you see that it happens to everyone. I'm always surprised when I think, oh, I'm struggling and I'm so lazy, or I don't know what, or I'm doing that and I have so much creative freedom, but still sometimes it's just not working for some reason or another. And then I find someone posting or sharing something and I think, oh yeah, that's right. It's just good to know that we're not alone in our struggles, and there's the community aspect, very, very important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I see that you have a free mini course available for our listeners. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yes, I have a free course that is an introduction, let's say, to the cosmic smashbooking and art journaling process that I'm doing. And it focuses on what I talked about, shifting emotions, shifting negative energy, and we create a terrible mess, and then we make something beautiful out of that. So it's this shifting the energy, and also like just expressing and creating something nice from something totally messy.
I love it. I love it. Well, we'll make sure the link is there for everyone. And again, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And for our listeners, we will see you again next time. And in the meantime, I wish for you amazingly creative days. Thank you for listening. If you found our podcast of interest, we'd love for you to leave a review wherever you listen in.